sites in Jordan or the UK, or indeed anywhere else. I think many of you are familiar with the Newton-Khalidi Fund, which is the first bilateral science and innovation partnership between the UK and Jordan, and we're very proud of it. And Newton-Khalidi is the local brand of the global Newton Fund that runs in 17 countries worldwide, and this local branding is a neat way of illustrating the joint design and delivery model that we have here in Jordan, and reflecting the co-ownership of the fund here. And since its launch in Jordan in November 2017, the Newton-Khalidi Fund has supported 9 diverse British Jordanian science and innovation programs, and that's included workshops, research grants, fellowships and capacity building programs to support a total of 65 partnerships all told. And so today I'm really pleased that we're starting this first in a series of Newton-Khalidi Science Talks, a new initiative launched by the fund, and this is to highlight success, to capture opportunities for future collaboration, and to share some of the fantastic best practice that's come about through these partnerships. So the idea is that we hold these talks every couple of months or so, really to talk about these different science and innovation partnerships, to look at the impact they've had on the ground, to highlight some of the great success stories, to share best practice, and to share solutions within the science and innovation community, and to reflect on some of the great achievements to date. So today we're going to be focusing on a particular UK-Jordanian partnership between the Royal Veterinary College and the Jordan University of Science and Technology. And these both represent global and regional centres of excellence. The Royal Veterinary College has again been accredited as the world's top veterinary school, according to the QS World University Rankings in 2021. And the Jordan University of Science and Technology has been ranked the top university in Jordan. That's from US News University Rankings in 2021. And the Just Faculty of Veterinary Medicine is currently in the advanced stages of pursuing accreditation to the European Association of Establishments for Veterinary Education. So we've got 2 really fantastic institutions, and it's no surprise that bringing the 2 together has created a powerful opportunity for sharing best practice. And within this context, faculty members from these 2 institutions have been providing some state-of-the-art and regionally pioneering veterinary public health training tools at undergraduate, postgraduate and continued professional development levels. So it's not really for me to talk about these. I think other people on the line are much more expert than I am, but just wanting to highlight these 2 fantastic institutions, and I'm really looking forward to hear a bit more about the story of their partnership and their plans for the future. So welcome again to everybody. Thank you very much to Mona and others for bringing these talks together, and I will hand back to you, Mona, to introduce our speakers.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. That was a really good introduction for the Newton Fund, the Newton-Khalidi Science Talks, and I wanted to say that our aim is to deliver 5 to 6 sessions throughout the year to highlight the success and capture the impact. So keep an eye for our next sessions throughout this financial year. First of all, I would like to introduce the speakers as they appear on the screen. So we'll start with, from the top left corner, we have Dr. Hafir Gettyan. So Hafir obtained a veterinary degree and a PhD veterinary epidemiology from Universidad de Santiago de Compostela. I hope I pronounced that well. He also has a master's degree in data analytics. And then 10, he was recruited to his current position as Professor of Veterinary Public Health at the Veterinary College, Royal College. He is also involved with undergraduate and postgraduate teaching and regularly contributes to international capacity development initiatives. Hafir has carried out research on camel zoonosis in Jordan since 2015 with the partnership of Jordan University of Science and Technology, and has co-led one of the first education twinning programs endorsed by the World Organization for Animal Health. Hafir is actively involved in promoting with the general public the applications of science. Next, we have Peter Holloway. Peter obtained his veterinary degree from the University of Glasgow, working as a veterinarian in the Scotland farm and small animal practice for 14 years, during which time he completed a master's degree in tropical animal health and production from the University of Edinburgh, Centre for Tropical Veterinary Medicine. In 2013, he began a PhD with the Royal Veterinary College London, investigating the epidemiology and control of camel zoonosis in Jordan, with a particular focus on Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, MERS. This research being part-funded by the British Embassy in Amman from the Bilateral Budget Fund, with further funding from the Medical Research Council UK. As part of the project, Peter spent some time in Jordan, specifically in the south, with interesting experiences that he will share with us in the course of this session. Moving next to Dr. Ihab Abu Basha. Dr. Ihab is a professor at Jordan University of Science and Technology in the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. He received his master and PhD degrees from Iowa University in the United States, while his bachelor degree was obtained from Just University, where he is serving today. Dr. Ihab took several leadership roles locally, regionally, and internationally. Few are the faculty dean, the Secretary General of the Arab Association of Veterinary Medical Faculties, the Vice President of the Mediterranean Network of Establishments for Veterinary Education, and currently, Dr. Ihab is on sabbatical leave as a visiting professor at the Royal Veterinary College in London. Today, Ihab is co-leading the MERS-CoV research collaborative project that we will be talking about today. Then we have Ms. Zane Shaheen. Zane Shaheen has obtained her bachelor degree in veterinary medicine and surgery from Jordan University of Science and Technology. Shortly after graduation, she was hired as a veterinarian at Al-Ma'wa for Nature and Wildlife, which is the first wildlife sanctuary in Jordan. Zane was awarded a couple of internships in Jordan, South Africa, and Asia to get solid experience in the field of wild animals. In 2017, Zane obtained her master's degree in wild animal health from the Royal Veterinary College in the UK. Zane went back to Jordan to work as a wildlife veterinarian manager at the Princess Alia Foundation and worked part-time with the Jordan University of Science and Technology. Now she is a consultant at Al-Ma'wa for Nature and Wildlife, a manager to different projects at Princess Alia Foundation, and a freelance veterinarian, and she is also assisting in some international projects. And today she will be talking about her success journey as part of this project. Finally, our moderator for the session of today, so Dina Marto. Dina is a trade and investment advisor at the Department for International Trade based in the British Embassy in Jordan. Dina is a colleague and we work closely through the Newton-Khalidi Fund on projects that might be of interest for investment in the UK. Dina leads on different sectors including healthcare, and this is why we have Dina today moderating this session. She also leads on life sciences, education, and agri-tech. Dina has been with DIT Jordan for 3 years now, with the education sector being a priority work. Dina supports UK companies in exporting to and investing in Jordan, assisting Jordanian companies in investing in the UK, and supporting UK companies in tackling market barriers to enter the Jordanian market. Prior to working with DIT Jordan, Dina held several positions, few of which in the banking sector in Canada and Jordan. Dina holds a bachelor's degree in economics from McGill University. So these are our speakers of today and the moderator of today's session. And as the ambassador earlier mentioned, today we are shedding the light on this partnership between the Royal Veterinary College in London and Jordan University of Science and Technology that has lasted since 2013. They survived several challenges and they overcame them, and they are going to share with us some tips and learning lessons through this long journey. So I'll here and open the floor for our moderator of the day, Dina, to talk about the project and then open the discussion. And Ambassador, I know that you have fully packed, so we really thank you for opening the session. Please feel free to stay with us for the rest of the session, but if you have any other commitments, please don't feel that you are obliged to stay longer than you did. Many thanks, and Dina, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mona, and thank you for hosting and organizing this session, and thank you for the ambassador for opening the first talk of the Newton-Khalidi series. It's my honor to be asked to moderate the first session for today, with an exemplary success story that we'll hear more about within this session and conversation. So a little bit about this project to give you an idea of what our conversation will entail. In 2012, the World Organization for Animal Health developed a capacity building strategy that included the development of twinning between veterinary education establishments to promote relevant concepts on biothreat awareness and reduction, and to help create a culture of responsible and ethical science among students. So this is where the Twinning Initiative was established and helped this partnership come to life. So the RVC and JUST provided a series of state-of-the-art public health training tools at undergraduate, postgraduate, and continued professional development levels. Today's partnership has contributed to support more than 50 students from both countries to visit the partner institution, develop a self-assessment logbook aligned with international guidelines and implement it at JUST, create a new group of female leadership in the field by granting 10 students, of which were 90% female, a master's degree through an innovative model of paired projects and joint supervision. 6 peer-reviewed publications were published on global health issues of strategic importance for Jordan, and a mobile app was created and is actually being developed for Jordanian veterinarians to access resources for field veterinary epidemiology. Further to the Twinning Education program, this partnership is engaged in 2 state-of-the-art multidisciplinary research projects on MERS-CoV among human and camel populations in the south of Jordan, which is still ongoing and is generating novel research findings of international significance for the control of MERS-CoV. So as you can see, the highlights and the successes that I've noted are just a few of what we're going to be hearing from today. So I'd like to ask my first questions, and based on what we've heard from the ambassador today, that the partnership between RVC and JUST started back in 2013. So based on this, I'd like to hear from the panel, how did this come about? How did this partnership, how was the partnership established? And maybe we can start with Dr. Peter first to answer the question. Dr. Peter, you're on mute. And I'd just like to note that we're having this informal conversation, so please feel free to answer the question whenever you wish.
Oh, thank you. I guess just want to start off by saying a big thank you. It's such a privilege for us to have this relationship and time to talk. And yeah, thank you for this opportunity. I guess it's a lovely story because it started in 2013 with the British Embassy. I guess at that point I was just interested in, I got an interest in camels, and I realized I'd been to Jordan a couple of times and realized that people generally drank camel's milk raw, but they tended to boil milk from sheep and goats. And I was just kind of interested in that and wondered about if it was possible to do some research around that. So I knocked on the door of the British Embassy and said that I was interested in those things. And I'd already been up to JUST as well and had a chat with the dean there at the time, and he'd been very supportive. And so the embassy were very welcoming and encouraged me to apply for a bilateral program budget fund grant, which was wonderful. And thankfully I was successful. And that fund, that £10,000 grant really got this whole ball rolling about research in the south of Jordan. So that grant was really a key that sort of opened the door for everything else. And I guess several things came together at the same time, because at the same time, when I went to see the dean up in JUST, he mentioned that Hafir, this professor in public health from the RBC, was visiting Jordan in 3 weeks' time, and I could meet him, which I did. And Hafir very kindly agreed to be a PhD supervisor, and it all kind of came together, and the story has gone on from there. Yeah. But the twinning, I mean, I was just fortunate to be kind of involved with the twinning, but I should let Hafir in. He has talked about those things.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody. I really want to start by thanking the embassy for giving us this opportunity, because I think the three of us and all our colleagues in the project feel that it's a nice story, and the embassy was certainly part of it, and the people from the embassy, and it's great to be able to share this. So I think what Peter just said, I will highlight something that I think may be relevant for young, passionate people, because at that time, Peter, you had a passion and an interest in working with camels. You had the talent, you had the energy, but you didn't have the resources, the facilities. And I think, to me, that's a great lesson. Peter went to talk to people. He went to Irbid and met people in Just. He knocked on the door on the embassy. He sent me an email. And this is how things started to coalesce. But we didn't have financial support at the beginning. We have very little. And I really want to emphasize that. Well, we didn't have little, but we had, I guess, the energy and the vision of someone like Peter, who was able to initiate this process. And I think we all saw the same. And, well, lots of things were happening at the same time. During the previous years, I had been involved in research in the Middle East, mostly in Egypt, but with some connections to other regional countries. And I remember hearing about Just. I remember being in Afghanistan and meeting people who had been trained at Just. For me, Jordan, I had never visited Jordan. And it was interesting that I was hearing about Just. It became clear to me that it was a highly regarded educational institution playing a very important role regionally. So this is something that was happening before I met Peter, before I traveled to Jordan. And someone who was aware of the work that we were doing in the Middle East, Dave Elliott from the Ministry of Defense, I think he felt that there were potentially some synergies between us and Just. So I remember meeting Dave in London, and he actually acted as the matchmaker, I will say. He felt that the two organizations had some synergies and arranged for me to visit Jordan and to meet Ihab and Ahmed Al-Majali, who was the dean of Just at the time. And I think, Peter, he was the person who also opened doors to you in the south.
Yeah, I should have given credit. Yeah, I'm sorry. Set all these things in motion.
It's very difficult to, and I don't want to talk very long. It's just that lots of things happen at the same time. As I said, Dave had that vision, and I guess when we met again, things seemed to, everything was very natural. We felt that it would be easy to work together, and this important organization in animal health, the OIE, which is the World Organization for Animal Health, they had just designed this instrument to try to promote bilateral collaboration. And basically, they felt that that umbrella would be suitable for the two organizations to work. And he managed he helped us getting some funds to work under this umbrella of the OIE twinning program. I don't know, whether I'm missing something here or.
Yeah, thanks, Hafir, and thank you, Mona, and everybody for inviting us. In fact, yes, the beginning of this was a little bit, we don't know where we are going in the beginning, but I think based on overall what we have, I will say that we have to be patient and we have to try hard and we have to be committed to what we are doing. And in addition, in my experience, if you have to have a good networking, you have to have a good personal communication and cooperation. This is very important. I remember Hafir coming to visit our school, and we have like official meetings. And after that, David Elliott and the Dean Al-Majali wanted to talk about further things. I was the vice dean at that time. I said, Hafir, how about we go together somewhere? I want to show you a place. Then I took him, drove him in the northern side of Jordan to Qais. And Hafir is from Spain originally, and he said, wow, this is like Spain with the olive trees, etc. And I saw him the olive extraction process. And this kind of personal communication and connection is very important to have the human side of that. I'll tell you why, because we started this applying for the twinning project in 2014, and we were awarded in 2016. It took us 2 years, although we were the first to apply for the twinning worldwide, but it took us, there are some challenges and things that we need to come over. Without this personal touch, without the commitment from the both sides and the interest, we will say, okay, that's it, done. We are not going to waste our time. So this is a very important and take-home message for the researcher in Jordan and everywhere, that if you need to something, you have to be after it and you have to be patient. Another thing, as a researcher, we always hear something that, oh, you are doing some research, what's the benefit of your research? We are not gaining anything out of it. We don't see any results. People think that we are doing research just to get publication and get promoted, and that's it. And I think these days, the COVID and the stories that we hear, it is stressed that we need to have a good research. Sometimes we do research for 10 years, but we don't see it after maybe after 15 years. Oh, we have this data, and do we have COVID before or not? And this is exactly what happened to us. That we work with the bats, and a human. We took samples from those, and when COVID there, I've been asked, do we have COVID before? And it took us only 1 day to answer this question, because we have 1,000 samples from bat, 1,000 from humans. So this kind of things, I think, is very important, and we learn that the long-term commitment, you need to have to be patient. You have to try hard, to work hard. Dina talked about the education twinning program. I want to stress just a few points that we take in consideration very much the youth and the young researcher in this project. We have 10 scholarship for 10 students, in which 9 females, 1 male, in addition to Zane. Zane will tell you about her story in a minute after that. But this work very nice. In addition to that, the undergraduate level. Sometimes we think, oh, RVC, they are the top in the world, so why they need to have connection with JUST, which we are not accredited yet by the European, or they have everything. But believe me, this is a mutual collaboration, and it is a win-win situation. And I think my colleague at the RVC, they know this. We offer a good environment for the research as well. I think also this project helped traveling both sides, the faculty and the student. We understand each other more, and the network become stronger and stronger. And based on that, we decided, oh, we need to do more. We need to apply for more projects. Believe me, if we are not succeeded in this project, or if we don't have a good connection, then we'll say, okay, done, thank you very much, that's it. In addition to that, we have 8 undergraduate students from JUST who visited UK. And believe me, some of them, they just only transferred or traveled from Jordan for their first time to London. Amazing experience. We are not talking only about scientific like rotation, only also cultural things. In terms of speaking of expanding the networking, also we realized that, okay, we did a very nice thing with RVC and Jordan at JUST, but we need to expand it. So this is why we have widely disseminated this result across the Middle East and North Africa. We have deans from Egypt, Sudan, Iraq, Tunisia, Morocco, Turkey, and Lebanon for a meeting that we told them about our story, how we revise our curriculum at the undergraduate level, and what we did with the graduate. And they were very impressed. And the good thing that we did not stop even at this level. Now we have a second stage that we are going to continue. We want to do more further dissemination of the project to the region. We don't need a lot of another twinning project for each country, but this is very nice in addition to the application. And I think that what strengthens the networking, it just you think more and more about more projects, more partner involved in our work. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Dr. Ihab. I think this is what the basis of effective networking is, and the basis of why this project has been successful. And thank you also for touching on some of the challenges that you've been facing, which we'll discuss in more detail later on. But speaking of the twinning programs delivered across this partnership, I would like to highlight Ms. Zane and her involvement within the partnership. So Ms. Zane, if you don't mind, maybe if you can tell us about how this collaboration impacted your career and its journey.
Sure. Thank you, Dina, and thank you, Mona, for the brilliant introduction. Hello, everybody. It's so good to talk to you and see you again, some of you again, Dr. Ihab, Hafir, Peter, even though it's virtual, of course. And thank you for inviting me to this meeting. I think the partnership between JUST and the RVC through the twinning program, of course, was one of the best collaborations. I wasn't the only student who benefited from joining the program. I'm sure it had a positive impact on the careers of the other students as well. And perhaps I'm here to talk not only on behalf of me, but also on behalf of all of us students of the twinning program. So the impact of this program was very, very positive. It not only improved my chances career-wise, but also improved my reasoning skills and thought processes. I think this is what empowers one and enables one to improve and level up. So after completing my master's degree, I stepped up in my career, and instead of being just a vet, which of course I love and enjoy doing the most, I now work on the management and development of different projects, benefiting both humans and animals, as well as nature. So I was very, very lucky to have the opportunity to complete this brilliant master degree. And some think that this is just a master, but I think that's a golden opportunity to, step up and level up, whether it's research-based and scientific, or even in career-wise. So I'm so lucky to be working at the Princess Alia Foundation as well, an organization that empowers and enables me to try and make a positive change, in addition to the scientific base that I gained through my master degree through the twinning program. However, I think there's always limitations to what one can change alone. And so as Dr. Hafir and as Dr. Ihab mentioned before, previously in this talk, and also based on my observations through the different projects I manage locally and the external work I do internationally, I believe that change needs communities and needs communications. So I agree with Dr. Ihab when he talked about communication. And this is why I decided to take further advantage and use this master degree to seek an even higher degree, and a degree that will give me a solid and even more solid base to work at universities and organizations, teach younger generations. And yeah, I believe only together we can improve things around us, whether it's wildlife conservation, public health, epidemiology, animal welfare, nature, whatever field you're working in. So the positive impact of this program is just continuous and non-stop. Even after 4 years, I graduated in 2017, and now we're in 2021, and I think I still can take advantage of this brilliant master degree. So Dr. Hafir, Dr. Ihab, Peter, David, and everyone who was part of this great collaboration. Thank you again and again and again for giving me and many other students such a golden key to a brighter future. Really, thank you.
Thank you very much, Zane, for these wonderful words to the panel. And I'm sure that as well other students have faced the same positive experience as well. So I'd like to maybe move on to Javier, and if the rest of the panel would like to answer this question as well, as what are your plans for the current project now that you're working in the south of Jordan?
Thank you, Dina. So I think so far we have mostly talked about our twinning project, which is, it was not the first work that we did. We started, as Peter explained, with some support from the embassy looking at camel zoonosis in the south of Jordan. And then the first significant piece of funding that we secured was under this twinning program. The focus being education. So our initial collaborative work was mostly around education. However, a big component was education through research. And it's interesting, when Ihab was explaining the origins of the twinning and the time that it took for us to formalize it, you know, I think it's easy to forget about some complexities. Here we had an international funding body willing to support us financially very significantly to organizations. But although this seems like a walk in the park, a no-brainer, let's go for it, there were big challenges because, for example, some of the costing mechanisms that we have in higher education institutions in the UK are not, you know, they wouldn't match well the constraints or the requirements of the funding body. We were unable to charge staff time, which basically means the university will have to subsidize this activity. So, which wouldn't be fair on my university. So we had to do a lot of work. And I have to say thank you to my senior managers, because in the end, we found some ways by which we felt the arrangements were fair, and our university was not heavily subsidizing the activity, if that makes sense. So we initiated our work with this mostly educational activity, but in my mind, it was very clear that I had to work very hard together with my colleagues to try to show that this was a worthwhile investment, if that makes sense. And from the beginning, we started looking at opportunities to apply for further funding where we could make use of some of our strengths in research and that were adequately funded, let's say. So we competed for funding. We decided to focus on MERS coronavirus, and we were successful at securing highly competitive funding from the Medical Research Council. Now, the beauty is that this happened within the life of the twinning project. So for me, that was kind of, I would say, highlight of my career when, you know, thank you for your trust. You allowed us to proceed with this twinning initiative despite some concerns financially. And even before it finishes, here we have a very tangible outcome that is bigger than the original project and that we secure before the end of the original project. And that was work on MERS coronavirus. MERS coronavirus is Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome coronavirus, an infectious disease caused by a coronavirus. Now everybody knows what a coronavirus is. If I was saying this 2 years ago, I would have to explain a little bit more. But this is not needed now. This coronavirus was first seen in Jordan and Saudi Arabia in 2012. And camels act as the reservoir of the virus. So we carried out some work trying to understand the epidemiology of this infection. And by the epidemiology, I mean how it is distributed in camels and which practices, husbandry practices, may increase the probability of transmission between camels or from camels to humans. And this is a piece of research that we have just finished. We completed it a bit more than a year ago. Now, we've been lucky at securing further funding to take this line of research forward. And we are starting this year, we are starting a new project in which I will say that we are trying to pave the way towards the strategic deployment of vaccines. Luckily, vaccines for this coronavirus, both in camels and in humans, they have been developed. But the key questions remain as to what will be the best deployment, camels or people or both, in which seasons, how. And as you can imagine, there are a lot of, I will say, social, cultural, behavioral aspects to take into consideration before you think about the practical deployment of such vaccines. And this is precisely what this project is trying to ascertain. We are trying to understand a little bit better two things: the biology of this virus, its transmission, seasonality in camel populations. Are there opportunities to smartly target the camels in some times in the year? And also how those who live with camels behave and how they perceive aspects such as vaccinating their animals, etc. So it has a very important behavioral component. It's an amazing project because we are really, we are not designing this project from the perspective of a discipline. I am an epidemiologist myself, but this is not about epidemiology only. So it's truly multidisciplinary. We have an issue here, a very applied issue, and the best way of solving it is through multiple perspectives, which we try to incorporate in the project. And I mean, Peter can give you much better overview of the actual things that we are doing in the South. Sorry, Peter, I keep passing the ball to you.
Peter, you're on mute.
No, I'm glad, Javier. That's fantastic that you covered things really, really well. Thank you. Yeah. I don't know if there's more to add, but yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
And based on what has been mentioned so far, you obviously all went through some challenges that you had to overcome at some point during the project. And I'm sure that our listeners as well know that not every project that they go through is going to come very easily. There's going to be a lot of challenges that you would have to go through to overcome at some point, and then see this as a big success. And this is why you're here today. So I wanted to, Dr. Ihab did mention at the beginning some of the challenges that you faced at the beginning, at least from Justice's point of view, but I wanted to hear from the panel as well, what other challenges did you face and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, should I start, Hafir, or you? Okay.
You could go ahead first.
I will, Dina, I will talk in general now about any researcher. I think not only in Jordan, but everywhere, we suffer from administrative work. Administrative work, it means paperwork, financial issue, purchasing order. I think this is the case for all of us. And you can't believe how much we spend from our time following up with these things. Even if we hire someone to follow up, we still need to step in and talk to the deanship of research, to the financial people, go after some of these things. And amazing, it's like every president, he came, he will say, okay, what's the researcher problems? He's tried to solve them, but we still suffer from these things. This is, I think, fact. Hopefully, someday we can get over this. But the other thing is, for a project like the MERS Corona and project that involved human animal health, we really need to deliver these results, our results, and communicate with the local authority, with the ministries, Ministry of Agriculture, Health, Environment. So I'll tell you the story, because we went to Ministry of Health talking about this project and other related projects. Very nice, very good. We drink a cup of coffee. Okay, bye-bye. Next month, we came again talking about the same thing, and you meet someone who say, oh, I haven't heard anything about this project. Same thing with different ministries. And we find a solution for this. So we establish a focal point partner from Ministry of Agriculture, Health, Environment, even from the WHO, World Health Organization, FAO, OIE, Royal Scientific Society, and other NGO. We were all engaged in a monthly or frequent meeting where we address our things. Even if we say, okay, this 3 months we did 1, 2, 3, so on. So this committee triggered something that we realized that we don't have One Health committee in Jordan. And at that time, One Health is a big issue. We established the first One Health committee out of this committee, and this was the first national committee. And now we have this committee, it's under the Ministry of Health, and they meet regularly, which is a very nice story to add for our outputs. So in addition to that, we find also it's very helpful to have a report, like a periodical report. It doesn't need to be every month, maybe every quarter, every 3 months. And this will go to the focal point and his responsibility to deliver it to the Ministry of Agriculture or Health or Environment. This is very nice story that if we need to disseminate our result in a way to the ministries, we find it very, very good. The other challenges, I think maybe Hafir can talk about other challenges from his point of view.
I was thinking while you were speaking, Ihab, and also earlier, I think that challenges are inherent to any project, right? I don't think, I'm an academic, so I know how to write project proposals. And you will have in a project proposal that I write, you will have a neat timeline, you will have milestones, you will have everything will match. This is how we can persuade someone that what we have written here is sound. The reality is that things, I would say, almost never, when you are dealing with complex, large projects. Just think about working on coronavirus. Nowadays, this is complex by definition. So I think in my view, the main lesson here is that it starts when we receive this news. This organization, they are happy to fund you guys quite a big amount of money, but then I realize, well, it doesn't quite work for my organization because staff time is not eligible. This is the first challenge probably that we faced. So they start from the beginning. But what I learned now is that I wish I knew that when I was a bit younger, that in the end, the way we overcome this challenge was understanding really well, okay, that's the problem for the RVC, while JUST operates in a completely different environment. For JUST, the challenges are very different. And it's, I guess, having the creativity to try to build your project in a way that you incorporate the values, the needs, the problems of organizations and individuals. And this is what I really like, actually. So it's stressful, but when you find the recipe, it works. And I was discussing this recently with this example. It seems to me like trying to solve a system of equations, and you need to find or a kind of an optimization problem, you see? I know this is a bit kind of dry talking about this when you are referring to people's values, but it does work that way a bit. So, for example, what is important for the Bedouin families with whom we work? It may not be MERS coronavirus because this is a disease that does not create problems in their camels, but they are concerned about some other diseases of camels or of their sheep or their children, or they have their concerns. It is our duty to adapt our project to these values, these circumstances, and also the circumstances of my university. So I will say that it's like a dance. You start from the beginning to the end, you are dancing with these challenges. And I guess the art is trying to find the ways of accommodating them. And in my view, communication is key, including with the funding bodies. And again, the finding bodies, in my view, are extremely open. You know, when you are open and you explain, well, look, this is what's going on, we may need to adapt things this way. I have always been very lucky with project managers when being quite open and explaining, because in the end you may find opportunities. You may end up even maximizing the outputs of the project by changing a little bit some things.
Thank you, Dr. Javier. And I'm glad that you also touched on your work with the Bedouin communities in the south of Jordan. And I was curious to know what that experience was like, and if you would like to maybe share with us how you managed their expectations when it came to the research that you did. Maybe, Peter, if you'd like to take this question, and then if the rest of the panel would like to answer as well.
Yeah, one of the things that we're so aware of is that we're guests, and we're so grateful for the way that even a situation like this, we come as guests, and we're so grateful for the way that you've received us. And I guess being among these communities in the south, I'm very aware that we're there, you know, by their favour and their grace, and we really want to respect the veterinary sector and the medical sector, the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, and the local communities on the ground. I guess we can't do anything without their goodwill and their favour and their trust. And so I guess, you know yourself, I mean, all over the world, relationships are important, but I think in the Middle East, they're particularly important. It's such a you have such a relational culture. And so I guess one of the priorities for us is always to try to value the relationship over the work, that we're not just here to take something, that we really want to serve you. And as Javier mentioned, MERS is really not of interest to folk in the south of Jordan, and it's really not on their radar at all. But they do have things that are important to them and real needs that maybe we can help with. I mean, brucellosis is as many people know, is an ongoing problem in Jordan, as it is in lots of parts of the world, not an easy disease to control. And among Bedouin populations, it's still an ongoing issue that people have concerns about. So that's one of the things that we try to deal with. And one of the interesting things about MERS is that it has lots of public health things associated with it, comorbidities like smoking-related diseases or high blood pressure or diabetes, things that are common problems in the community that we can also begin to hopefully address as well and begin to talk about. But I think, yeah, one of the things that, it's just important to listen and to take our time and to not be in a hurry and to make people feel valued and that we're not there just to come and take something, but we really want to serve you and know what you need, and we want to address those needs as best we can. And also just to be faithful, to keep coming back, to give results, to, you know, if we take a sample, to make sure we go back and tell people what the result is and explain what that means so it's not misunderstood. And just to be a presence that's ongoing. I guess it's been 7 years now, and so it feels like we've become a little bit part of the furniture, and that we're grateful for that. Just that hopefully we can build relationships that will last.
Well, Jordanian people are certainly very welcoming people, so I'm glad that it was easy to work with these communities and integrate yourself within the communities as well. And Dr. Ihab, I remember in our previous conversations you mentioned a story, a cave story. Maybe that would be worth mentioning to our audience as well. That also kind of helps complement Peter's comments on working with the Jordanian community in the south.
Right. Before I tell you about this story, I think the Bedouin, as Hafir and Peter mentioned, you have to have a good relationship with them because their camels' value is as much as their sons. So you have to build the trust, I think, with those community. As Peter mentioned, you have also to think about what other needs they need. Taking care of their camels, taking care even of themselves. If you have MD doctor to check on their blood pressure, diabetes, etc. Very important. We often have a call from them, like after we get the samples, oh, we have this camel that is sick, and can you come and check it? And we live in Irbid, and the distance between Irbid and Ma'an maybe 300, 400 kilos, and we have to do this commitment to them. Otherwise, it will be really not good thing to just take the sample and leave them. So that's what Peter built and our team builds with those Bedouins. And we had this nice story when we start capturing the bats and it was in Ajlon. We have a training session about capturing the bats, and we went at 6 p.m. Putting the traps and the nets, waiting for the bats to come up the cave and to catch it. And at 11 p.m. it was so dark, and we found many cars came to us, and the local community came in. Oh, what are you doing here? What are you doing in our territory? And we said, oh, we are just a researcher. No, you are you were in the cave. Must be you are digging gold here. And you know the Jordanian is very famous when it comes to looking for gold. So even they have guns at that time, and we have some colleagues from United States. We really have this situation was awkward, and we have to explain them in a way that we are a researcher from JUST, and this is project blah blah blah. But next day we went to the same community, and you know these areas they have like the head of the community, and we talked to him about what we are doing exactly, what is the benefit of the project, where it is funded, etc. So we learn our lesson from this, that whenever you want to go to an area, especially area in the outside the city, you have to talk to the community. Even we learn another thing, that we need sometimes to hire people from them. If you want to take like blood samples from human, why not to hire a nurse that is locally in their center? It is easy delivery. For our animals as well, we have like a worker with us. They feel more comfortable. So this is another thing and another challenge that we had in the past with the community. You need to in advance to tell what are you doing in their areas, and maybe talk about your project in a frankly way, talk about the head of the community.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Dr. Ihab. And in essence of time, because I know that there's quite a lot going on in the meeting chat in regards to questions, and I'd like to leave it to the audience to ask their questions as well if they'd like in person. But let me touch on the last question that I wanted to ask. And just as with many other projects, and especially with yours that have taken quite some time to develop, I'd like to know what were kind of the really good moments and the bad moments as well, because even if they're bad moments, they always being challenged always fuels that good fire and that lead to eventually good moments. So I just wanted to know maybe if you can highlight one good and one bad moment that you faced during these past few years. Anyone from the panel can answer. This question is not directed specifically to one person.
I mean, I can share some. Well, I mean, I mentioned earlier a really highlight for us was when, after receiving this twinning project and being allowed by my university to proceed, we obtained external funding. That was a highlight in a way, you know. For me, it was a highlight because I felt it was fair on my senior managers because they had trusted us, but also because we had people like Peter who had been so generous with their time and effort. So generous, and being able to have a project with a position attached to it was so deserved. That was to me a big highlight. And as for challenges, well, you know, I will say that sometimes you had to to address unexpected circumstances. Recently, we had to look at the budgets, for example, for the existing project. But I don't want to put this as a, yes, this was a hard, but at the same time, we very quickly joined our, did everything we could to try to adapt to new funding circumstances. So as I said, this has been, for example, at the beginning, when we had some news that the funding was going to be reduced for the current project, that was a hard time, but very quickly we were working together and we developed contingency plans and readjusted some things to be able to do the work that we had planned. Yeah, this is what I will highlight. Ihab, I don't know, or Peter.
Yeah, I think for my side, when I saw the student, how happy they are, and we succeeded to get them involved in our project, that was really good thing. And really good thing, Zane's story, because Zane wasn't in this twinning at all. When we visited the Royal Stable, we met Zane, Hafir was with me, and we talked about Zane that, okay, I told Hafir, Zane is interested in wild animal, and we don't have this expertise even at our university. So we wrote to the OIE, and the OIE wrote back that they are okay with this. This was really a happy moment, not only for you, Zane, but for us also. It was a big thing, and I think that was a very, very nice story.
Ihab, sorry, I just wanted to say something about this, because of course this is the students and Zane. This is the big success of the twinning project by far. But this is a good example. I remember vividly that when Ihab is very persuasive. He's not only a friend, he's also very persuasive. So he did that, as he always did everything. Took us there, we met Zane. So we left that saying, this must happen. Zane has to study for an MSc. Now, that was not an option within our funding mechanism. It was not. So we had to, Ihab is putting us, okay, you send an email and it was okay. Well, it was not quite like that. We had to merge the administrative requirements of MSCs and funding issues of the RBC with the international funding body that explicitly excludes some of these, excluded some of these funding mechanisms. It was not a walk in the park, but yeah, it happened. And yeah, I think that was a highlight when we actually, when Zane graduated and all the other students. Yeah. So I just wanted to use it as an example of, there was another difficulty there, but it was possible to overcome it in a way.
Yeah, it was nice, Her Royal Highness Princess Alia host us, and we deliver the certificate to Zane. Actually, the principal was there. It was really good ceremony. The other challenge, I think, or the worst thing in this project, when Hafir called me and told me that, oh, we have very harsh audit at the RVC. We have this audit for the project because it's above certain limit. They decided that they will do audit for us. It's not a bad thing, but this is their procedure. And Hafir, he said, oh, Ihab, you can't believe how much they ask about tiny things. You have to prepare for them all the files that they need. And I was panicked at that time because I know what I'm going to go through. So I went to the Deanship of Research, digging for all the receipts, all the files with the financial. It took me like 4 or 5 days and put files, even though this French guy, the audit, he's very he knows what he's doing, and he asks about minor details. And this is another thing that we are, as a manager for the projects, we have to know every single details about the project when it comes to audit. But at the very end, we did very good, Hafir, with the audit. It has two parts, financial part and technical part. So we exceeded the technical part with our accomplishment more than what we expected, and we were okay with the financial part. Yeah.
And it's obvious that the good moments did outweigh the bad moments, which again highlights the success that of this project. I'd like to conclude our conversation for today. If there's anything else that you'd like to mention, please do so. I'd like to hand over back to Muna. Muna, thank you again for allowing me to moderate today's very interesting session. I'm sure we do have some questions from the audience, so I'll hand it over back to you to take over.
Well, thank you very much, Dina, and thank you for the speakers of today. You can't imagine how although I've been listening to your project updates for a while now, but I really enjoy listening to the challenges, especially that you through many challenges, but yet you are still here today, overcoming these challenges and having more projects and more collaboration together. So I believe that this is very, like, many of the researchers would relate to that and will be inspired in the future, because everyone is going through challenges, whether from the system, whether from the French audit companies, but yet if you have the intention to overcome it, you will do, and you will maintain this partnership. So many thanks for sharing your experience, your learning tips, I have to say. And going to the questions, I have one note. We were expecting another speaker to be here with us today, but David Elliott. David had some internet connections that did not allow him to join this session. But I think it is worth saying who is David, because David was very of the start of this partnership. David is a scientist and he's a program manager based at the UK Defence and Technology Laboratory. He has 20 years of experience in that department, and 15 of which 15 leading the UK International Biosecurity Programme, which is one program of the of many programs with the Ministry of Defence and the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. David has worked with Jordanian partners. He visited Jordan for more than 30 times during his role, and he developed many long-standing friendships with Jordanian scientists and members of the Jordan Armed Forces. So unfortunately, he couldn't make it to this session, but I thought that at least mentioning, and David was the person who answered one of the knocked doors that Peter and others have been knocking at the start of the part. And now, yeah. Of course, I will start with the questions in the chat bar, but if anyone from the attendees has any questions, please raise your hand and we will come to you to give you the opportunity to ask your question. The first question was for Zane, because we know that Zane is 1 out of 10 other students. So the question was, do you know if there's any collaboration or connection between the students? I know it's a very small number to say an alumni, but it is definitely a group of alumni. And I would like to know, what are the connections existing, or are you planning for any activities in the future?
Well, in fact, I had direct connections with the other students shortly after my graduation, but most of them were not over their masters yet at the time, because their programs were 2 years. And I know the research projects were conducted in collaboration with students from the RVC. And then I started working, and I've got mixed up with with work, and I had no time to do any collaboration with them. But I'd love to. If there's any opportunity, I'll dig for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, Mona, I think the other student, Zane was the 11th, number 11 student. So we have 5 paired project. Those were more connected to each other, especially they want to share their results, and because they have joint projects. So I think the other student, they were more connected to each other more than Zane.
Ihab, I think she was in fact number 1, not number 11.
Yes. Yes.
No,
She was the ignite of this master degree.
Can I just say what Ihab just explained? This is we didn't refer to that, but that was another challenge because we had master students in Jordan and in the UK. They were supposed to be matched. So
Yes.
2 people working on the same topic in different countries, and not only that, a master project in Jordan is 2 years and in the UK is 1 year. Just think about that. We had to match 2 masters of different duration in different countries, and this worked beautifully. The 5 pairs, that worked beautifully. In the end, what mattered was that the students were interested in their topics, excited about working together, interested in learning about each other's culture, and that the supervisors were also happy working together and passionate. From the administrative point of view, it looks totally nuts if you think about it. 1 year, 2 years, 2 countries, but it worked beautifully. And the papers, the joint papers, are the best example, you know. But so Zane's project was not a paired one, was kind of an outlier. Yeah.
By the way, I just wanted to say that one of the happiest moments and very unexpected is when Professor Stewart and all the good team came to Jordan, which I didn't even expect that they'll do something like that. But they were all in Jordan and happy, and we did a little ceremony at the royal stable. So that was really nice. I couldn't express that previously because I was like in shock, like everyone was here. But now I feel like really that was a very, very happy moment to me. Thank you.
It's also a happy moment for us now to hear about people visiting and knowing that normal life has been happening at some point, and I hope that we can get back to normal very soon, and maybe we can have Hafir, Peter, and I know Dr. Ihab is in the UK at the moment, but have you all here and to have a face-to-face event maybe in the future. So yeah, thank you for sharing your answers to this question. Moving to the next one. Peter, you were talking about the communication with the community in the South and the responsibility you felt that you promised with the results and then you had to go back to the community to share the results. What do you think were the barriers to share these results? Because you're talking about scientifically results that need analysis and things like that. And the language might be a barrier, maybe. So what were the barriers that you came across while trying to share the results and trying to be as transparent as possible?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I guess one of the main things is this concept of, because a lot of what we were doing was looking for antibodies. So it's like evidence of past infection. It doesn't mean that you're sick now. It's just a sign of how much in the community this disease is present. So trying to explain to people that they have a positive result doesn't mean that they're sick now. It means that they were sick sometime in the past few years, or perhaps not sick at all, but just had a subclinical infection. So I guess trying to allay people's fears that there's nothing to worry about. I mean, obviously, if they've got symptoms now, then there needs to be medical attention. So we tried to take that into account to make people aware that if they still have any symptoms connected with that positive antibody test, then they need to seek medical care. But I guess generally it's something historical. And so I guess, and the other thing that's a big issue is just camels are so special, and so to understand that they present some kind of risk is also quite an interesting challenge. And I guess that's very cultural. I guess there's an idea that camels are somehow different from other livestock species, and it's not perhaps even possible to get sick from a camel. And so Ihab will know all about that as well. But it's, yeah, I guess just, yeah, very important to communicate clearly and not to allow misunderstandings. And having local vets and local medics involved, obviously really key to make sure that people fully understand what's going on. Yeah. And also just having some community events so that as the community, they had some ownership.
Brilliant. Brilliant. That's really important to know, so that you give the ownership as well for the community. Zane, you would like to? Yeah, Peter,
Yes.
please.
Sorry, just one thing I should say is that when it comes to MERS, I mean, that's obviously very sensitive, and that's not something that we were able to share results-wise, and that's still being worked out. But so it was to do with some of the other infections, because that was really in a special category. Yeah, I just needed to say that. Sorry.
Thank you, Peter. I just wanted to ask if you had any translators with you, or how did you communicate with the local community?
Yeah, I mean, we had some local vets with us mostly, and some local nurses. I mean, I guess most of those folk didn't have English. My Arabic's really poor, but we managed, and so yeah, I guess we managed.
I think, Peter, you have a good Arabic. You can at least speak Arabic.
Well, I've got
شوية عربي.
Yeah, I feel like I got rocks in my mouth, and
no, but he can communicate with the Bedouin in Arabic very nicely, I think. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you.
Especially with the Bedouins, with a different dialect, maybe. So I'm impressed, Peter. I have to say.
You wouldn't be if we spoke in Arabic for a few minutes. You wouldn't be impressed.
I think we can have another talk, and I'm really keen now to know your Arabic level with the Bedouins dialect. Yeah, many thanks. I would like also to invite the participants. If anyone has any question, please raise your hand and directly open the mic and the camera. Whether on the partnership, whether on the future plans of the project, or the previous educational training program, for instance. Dr. Sana, please go ahead. And feel free to open the camera and the mic as well.
Hello, everybody. Sorry, I cannot open the camera due to some technical problems. Sure. But anyway, it's my pleasure to be one of the participants in this great meeting. I just want to introduce myself and my university. Maybe we gonna have a partnership in the future between us and you. I'm the director of the Women's Center. Actually, it's a Women's Studies Center at Al Bayt University. Al Bayt University, it is a governmental university at the Jordanian desert at Al Mafraq city, northeast Jordan. And we are very nearby the Bedouins and also the desert, and we are very familiar with the, let's say, this type of life. Although our students also are one of the, let's say, direct contacts with these animals and this style of life. So it's my pleasure also to introduce myself also as a geologist. And also, I got a Newton-Khalidi prize once, I think 3 years ago, in the field of water management. So I just want to introduce myself and introduce my center and also my university. And it's really my pleasure to have this, let's say, contactship with this community. Thank you very much, and thank you for your efforts, Mona, always.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sana. Yes, Dr. Sana is an active Newton-Khalidi awardee. Within her role and within her project, she participated in different activities within the Newton-Khalidi Fund. And you reminded me, because I was going to share with everyone that you are very welcome to ask for the contacts of the speakers and participants today. They have no, they don't mind sharing their contacts. So please, I put in the chat bar the Newton-Khalidi email box. So reach out to me and I will facilitate the connection with the participants, with the speakers of today's session. Yeah, good luck with the connection with Dr. Sana from Al Bayt. Do we have another hand up? Oh, no. Any further questions to the speakers today? Or maybe reflections, if you don't have any questions and would like to reflect. Like I had one reflection when Hafir was talking about the dancing, and it directly occurred to me that in several events we were talking about the Newton-Khalidi Fund. And as you know, the Newton-Khalidi is the Jordanian brand of the Global Newton Fund, and it is named after a Jordanian scientist, Dr. Usama al-Khalidi. We were always pleased that the people we were meeting, whether ministers or from the Higher Council for Science and Technology, the local stakeholders, have met Dr. Usama al-Khalidi at some point and has been inspired by his passion to science. And we heard several times that he always talked about science as a fun topic and something that you enjoy. And he always insisted his students and his family as well that science is about playing around. So don't take science as a burden on your shoulder. It's about playing, and please continue to play. So when we're talking about dancing, I think it is the case. And as long as you are enjoying it, you will get to where you want. And this was one reflection I wanted to share with everybody, because I feel that we're always led by his spirit and his inspiration of playing, even when we're talking about science, as Hafir once mentioned in the meetings. Take it from complexity to simplicity and you will get there. It's about how you communicate your science. As scientists, we know we are passionate about what we do, but then how to take that passion to the general public is the thing, to let them enjoy it with you. So if we don't have any other questions from the participants, I think we can wrap up this session, this very exciting session and very interesting stories to hear. I'm very glad that we recorded this session so we can share it wider. I already received several requests for people who could not join the session, but they are eager to have the recording link. So we will be working on the link and producing more videos and comms around it. So thank you very much for the speakers today. Thank you, Dina, for moderating the session in just an excellent manner. And thanks for all the attendees and participants for joining today. And as I said, keep an eye for our next episodes during the Newton-Khalidi Science Talks. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah.